Some highways feel cursed, empty, quiet, and forgotten for a reason. There's a gas station off exit 42. It doesn't show up on GPS. There are no reviews, no listings, but sometimes when your tank is near empty and you're desperate, you see it glowing in the distance. The man in this story only wanted fuel. What he got was a glimpse of something that wasn't human and wasn't alive. Full extended horror story. This happened to me around 5 years ago in late October. I was returning from a weekend business trip in Syracuse, heading south through Pennsylvania. It was around 11:45 p.m. when I realized I was running dangerously low on fuel. I had passed several exits, but none had a working gas station. Every time I thought about turning back, the voice in my head said, "Just a few more miles. You'll find something." That something came in the form of a crooked metal sign. Gas, exit 42, 2 miles ahead. I don't know why I took that exit. The road looked old, the markings faded, almost like no one had used it in years. But I was tired and my fuel light had just turned on. The road curved through a patch of trees and opened up to a clearing with a gas station in the middle. It looked like it was from the 1960s. One old pump, a boxy building with a flickering red open sign, and nothing else around. No cars, no people, just the sound of crickets and wind. I pulled up and waited in the car for a moment. My headlights lit up the pump and I noticed the numbers on it were stuck, like it hadn't been reset in a while. Still, the pump screen blinked, insert card. I got out and immediately felt a chill, not from the wind, from something else. The air smelled wrong, a mix of gasoline, mildew, and something I can only describe as old blood. I inserted my card. The machine beeped, but then the screen froze. Before I could try again, I heard it, a distant sound from the building. Not footsteps, something dragging. I turned toward the station. Through the foggy front window, I could make out dim lights inside, and in the back, what looked like a red emergency light flickering slowly. I hesitated, then walked toward the glass door. I cupped my hands against the window to peek inside. That's when I saw movement. At first, I thought it was just my reflection, but no. Something in the back of the room was crawling on the floor. It was pale, thin, and grotesquely long. Its limbs didn't move like a human's. They jerked, twisted, like it was trying to remember how to be human. I stepped back, and the door slowly creaked open on its own. My heart sank. I didn't want to go in, but something compelled me. Curiosity, or maybe something else. I called out, "Hello, is someone there?" No reply. I stepped just inside the threshold, not fully entering, and that's when I saw it again, closer this time. It was behind the counter now, partially hidden in the shadows. Its face wasn't a face. It was stretched skin, like someone had tried to make a mask out of a scream. Then a voice, but not from a person. It came from everywhere and nowhere. "You shouldn't be here." I turned to run, and just then, the lights cut out. All I could see was the faint glow from outside and the red light in the back. And then, right in front of me, two eyes opened in the darkness. They were glowing, blood red, unblinking. I ran, I sprinted to my car, heart hammering. As I slammed the door shut, I saw it in the rearview mirror. That thing was outside now, standing, watching. I turned the ignition, nothing. Tried again. The engine cranked but wouldn't catch. I could hear footsteps now, slow, heavy, unnatural. I tried again. Engine started. I threw the car in reverse and tore out of the lot, nearly crashing into the forest. I didn't look back. I just drove. For 20 minutes, I kept checking my mirrors. The road was empty, but I had the overwhelming feeling that something was still following. When I finally reached a town, I pulled into a 24-hour diner and sat there, shaking. I tried to tell the waitress what happened. She went pale. Then she told me very quietly, there was a gas station there once, but it burned down in 2004. They say it caught fire late at night with two people trapped inside. One of them was never found. I showed her my GPS history. Nothing. No record of an exit 42, no route that matched. Final words. I still drive that highway sometimes, but I've never seen that sign again. And I never ever let my fuel get low. Because I know now, some places don't want to be found. But when you're alone and desperate, they find you. If you've ever driven alone at night, you know how a perfectly normal road can start to feel unnatural. The shadows move differently. Every tree looks like it's watching you. One man, tired after a late shift, decided to take a shortcut home. His GPS led him through a road he'd never seen before. There, under an old concrete overpass, he saw a man, standing still, waiting. Full extended horror story. This happened to me back in 2019, a few weeks after I had moved to Kentucky for work. I was 25, working the night shift for a warehouse that supplied industrial equipment to construction sites. One Thursday night, we ended up staying a couple of hours late because of a last-minute delivery that had to be processed. I clocked out at 1:12 a.m. and stepped into my car, completely drained. The usual drive back to my apartment took about 40 minutes through the interstate, but that night, Waze gave me an alternate route, shaving off 10 minutes. I was too tired to think twice. The road it took me through was called Old Hollow Creek Road. At first, it seemed like any quiet country road, narrow but smooth. No street lights, though. My headlights cut through the darkness like a knife. The further I went, the more isolated it felt. Thick woods lined both sides, leaning in overhead like the road was being swallowed. I turned off the music after a while. Something about the silence made me feel like I needed to listen. 10 minutes in, I noticed my phone signal had dropped. No bars, even the GPS arrow was stuck. But I kept going, figuring it would come back. Then I saw it. A weathered concrete overpass just up ahead, standing like a monument to something long forgotten. Cracks ran along its sides, graffiti covered the pillars. Water leaked slowly from somewhere above, and directly underneath it, in the middle of the road, stood a man. At first, I thought maybe he was homeless or drunk or in trouble. He wasn't moving, just standing. I slowed down, lowered the window slightly, and leaned toward the wheel, trying to get a better look. The air smelled damp, moldy, like rotting leaves mixed with something metallic. The man was tall, maybe 6'4", wearing a white, dirty jumpsuit. His arms hung stiff at his sides. His head was tilted slightly to one side, as if he was listening. I tapped the horn. No reaction. I blinked, and I swear in the second I opened my eyes, he had moved. Just a little. Not a walking motion, just closer. I felt my stomach turn. Something about the way he stood, his stillness, was deeply wrong, like he didn't belong in a human body. I put the car in reverse slowly. Gravel popped under my tires. My eyes never left him. I looked down at the gear for just a split second. When I looked back up, he was at the hood of my car, right in front of it. I never saw him move. Now, in the full glare of my headlights, I could see his face. His skin looked like old plaster, dry and cracked. His eyes were wrong, pale, cloudy, almost translucent, like someone blind. But he was looking right at me. His mouth opened slightly, but he didn't speak. I swear I saw a flicker of movement inside it, like something was crawling beneath his skin. I panicked and swerved the wheel hard to the left, driving around him. My side mirror clipped something, but I didn't stop. I kept driving. I took turn after turn, my GPS dead, praying to find a main road. And then I heard something. A tap on the roof of my car, just one, then another, like knuckles, slow, deliberate. I screamed and sped up, but the tapping continued. 1, 2, 3, then it stopped. I didn't dare look in the rearview mirror. 10 minutes later, I saw the flickering lights of a gas station and pulled in like I just escaped a tornado. The clerk inside looked startled when he saw me. "You all right, man?" There was someone under the overpass, I said, breathless. He was just standing there, then he was at my car, then on it. His expression changed, from confusion to understanding. "Old Hollow Creek?" he asked. I nodded. He sighed lucky, you know. Most folks who see him don't make it past the overpass. I stared at him, stunned. "They say he died there in the 90s. Hit and run." Truck driver claimed there was no body, just blood. Locals think it wasn't a person to begin with. "So what was it?" I asked. He looked out the window for a long time. "Something that stands still because it's waiting for a ride back." Outro, I never used that shortcut again. I even moved out of Kentucky a year later. But sometimes when I'm alone on a back road at night, I think I see something pale in the trees, watching, tilting its head, waiting for me to stop. There are places that appear only when you're lost, and if you're unlucky enough to find them, you might never truly leave. This story was sent in by someone who broke down in the middle of the desert and found shelter at a strange old motel off the highway. But by the next morning, the motel was gone, and so was a part of him. Extended horror story. This happened in 2021 during a solo drive from California to Georgia. I was moving for a new job, fresh start, new state. I was doing it all in one long trip to save money, and I was already halfway through Arizona by the time I hit the last stretch. It was almost midnight when I passed a green exit sign I don't even remember reading. That's when my car began to sputter. Then the check engine light blinked. Then the headlights dimmed slightly. Before I could even fully react, the car gave out a heavy choking noise and the engine went dead. No warning, I coasted it to the edge of the highway where it slowly came to a stop, and then silence. Not city silence, but desert silence. It's a kind of silence where the air feels heavy, where you can hear the blood moving in your own ears. I looked down at my phone. No bars, GPS frozen, just coordinates and a black screen. I tried restarting the car. Nothing. I sat there watching the sky. The stars were beautiful, but too many. The kind of beauty that feels wrong when you're alone, like something's watching you back. Then, maybe 15 minutes later, I saw it. Headlights in the distance. An old rusted pickup truck slowed as it passed me, then pulled over ahead. The driver got out. A man in his 60s, tall, wearing denim overalls and a faded trucker hat. He walked over and said in a low, gravelly voice, "Need a lift? Ain't safe out here after midnight." I hesitated. Everything in me told me to say no. But I was stuck, and it was pitch black for miles in every direction. So I got in. We didn't talk much. The air in the cab smelled like old tobacco and dust. He drove slow, too slow. The radio was on, but just static. When I asked if he had a phone or knew the next gas station, he just said, "Ain't got reception round here. Closest place is just up the road. Little motel. You can rest till morning." I stared out the window. About 10 minutes later, we pulled into the driveway of a motel that looked like it belonged in another century. The neon sign said Suncrest Motel, but most of the letters were flickering or burnt out. Only SNC STMTL remained lit. The building was a single strip of rooms in a horseshoe shape, cracked parking lot, dry shrubs peeling paint, but the office was glowing. Inside was an old woman, stringy white hair, sunken eyes, skin like wax. She didn't speak, just stared at me. Then, without a word, she slid over a key on the counter. It didn't have a number, just a brass tag with the word "Room, Back Left" carved by hand. I turned to thank the man who brought me, but the truck was gone. No sound, no taillights, no goodbye. The room I walked to the back left room. It was darker there. The security light above it buzzed and flickered. The key turned, the door creaked open. Inside was stale air, one bed, a flickering light, a cracked TV, and a small wooden desk with an old analog clock. The clock blinked 12. No matter what I did, it wouldn't change. I took a cold shower, dried off with a stiff towel, and laid on the bed. I fell asleep fast, but woke up around 12 a.m. to a soft thudding noise. At first I thought someone was walking upstairs. Then I remembered it was a one-story motel. The sound came again, thud, 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 from behind the wall, followed by a whisper. "Room 0? Still occupied, still occupied." The voice was wet, gargled, like it was spoken through a mouth full of water. I stood up, suddenly freezing. The door wouldn't open. The knob wouldn't even turn. It was like it was part of the wall now. I reached for my phone. Dead. No battery, no signal, no lights except the blinking 12 and a faint glow beneath the door. That's when I noticed the shadow, not in front of the door, beneath the bed. A hand, thin, cracked skin, fingers bent the wrong way. I stepped back. The whispering returned, but now more voices, layered, echoed, male, female, childlike, all chanting, "Never checked out, room 0, room 0. I grabbed the lamp, but the bulb exploded. Glass scattered. Suddenly, 3 knocks on the wall. Then scratching. Then something heavy thumped against the door from outside. I screamed and backed into the corner, hyperventilating. Then silence, just the clock blinking, and then the voices stopped. I blacked out. I don't know when. Maybe I passed out. Maybe something else happened. The morning I woke up lying face down on concrete. No bed, no walls, just the slab of a foundation surrounded by weeds and dry grass. The motel was gone, no doors, No old woman. Just one wooden post with a half-burnt Suncrest Motel sign swinging in the wind. There were no signs of my bag, my phone, or my car. I walked in the heat for miles. Eventually, I was picked up by a state trooper. When I explained what happened, he looked pale. You stayed at Suncrest? That place burned down in '93. Electrical fire, killed everyone inside. Room numbers started at 1. There was never a room 0. I filed a police report. They never found my car, never found the man in the pickup. But they did find something strange. A hotel key, brass, weathered, burned, buried beneath the rubble. It said, room back left.